Hi, my name is Kelly McAdoo, and I'm a government bureaucrat. But seriously, though, I'm the city manager and CEO for the Municipal Corporation of Hayward, California. For most people, local government is a mystery or something you just don't ever think about. However, local government touches more lives every day than pretty much any other business in the world. So why then do we get a pass from adhering to any semblance of modern business practices? I would suggest that lean startup principles can provide government agencies with a methodology to break out of our traditional culture with the most irrefutable currency in our industry, resident input and feedback. So why is this important? If you're a city with the scale and resources of, say, a San Francisco or New York, you can throw lots of money and people at problems and innovation. However, resource-constrained cities have to disrupt their cultures in order to develop innovations that are successful and lasting. Hayward's here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we have about 150,000 residents and only 870 employees to serve that population. And according to statistics, more people live in cities on the scale like I run. 80% of the US population lives outside of the 100 largest cities, according to the National League of Cities. That means that 80% lives in the other 19,934 cities. Yep, you heard me right. That may be another problem we want to discuss. So giving these local governments a tool like Lean Startup could prove to be immensely powerful. Lean Startup principles can give local governments a methodology to create culture change, to improve resident satisfaction, empower our employees, and maximize scarce resources. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about how the City of Hayward has been working with our friends at Moves the Needle to learn these processes. And I want to focus on maximizing scarce resources, because this, to me, is where Lean Startup can provide the most value. I'm guessing some of you may have watched or heard about the TV show Hoarders. This is actually way more common in our communities than you might think, and it creates significant challenges for public safety first responders, mental health providers, and people who live near these homes. According to statistics, about 1.4 million people in the US display hoarding symptoms, which are often a symptom of more significant psychological problems. In Hayward, some of our staff had responded to these homes, but they didn't know the extent of the problem in our community. They did, however, think it was a problem that needed to be addressed sooner rather than later. After going through our first Lean Startup training, a team decided to take a deeper dive into the hoarding issue using this methodology, particularly giving some negative local press. The team started with the premise that hoarding was a very big problem for first responders, and that a solution they had heard about from a neighboring community might be the right approach for our city as well. What they found was something pretty unexpected. When they started doing their empathy interviews, they uncovered that first responders didn't encounter the problem as often as they thought, and that the solution that the neighboring city had implemented didn't actually work because the underlying mental health issues weren't being addressed. So the real aha moment for our team came when they identified the savings they had achieved by not implementing that neighboring city's solution right now. In our typical problem-solving process, a staff team would be convened. They'd brainstorm solutions, pick one, and spend 8 to 12 months developing and refining that solution and then rolling it out, often with limited participation or success. When the hoarding team estimated what they would have spent on developing that program for our city, they realized 10 staff members would have spent over 2,000 hours and 15 months implementing a solution that ultimately wasn't going to solve the problem. So instead of 15 months, the team spent 3 months doing empathy work and discovered that the county staff that would have received these hoarding referrals hadn't received the appropriate mental health training to deal with the referrals. So what our city staff are doing instead is tracking data on those hoarders, so when the county has implemented the training, we know who needs to be referred. And we put this project on the back burner in March, saving the city several $100,000 at that point, recognizing from the process it wasn't a priority right now. We just actually heard back from the county a couple weeks ago, and because of our work, they've pulled together 4 county agencies, and they're focusing on developing the training necessary to address that hoarding issue. So we determined at that particular moment in time, choosing the option of no solution will ultimately lead to better outcomes than investing in the wrong one. And so that's one important example of how we've been using Lean Startup methodology to help our city prioritize where to spend limited resources. And I would also suggest that using this process is helping us improve our customers' experience with their local government and is improving our employee engagement and empowerment. At its core, Lean Startup is a methodology tailored to private enterprise. However, I would suggest it presents a fundamentally different and better way for government to do business, and it will ultimately lead to organizations that feel more empowered and to residents who are more satisfied in their interactions with us. Trust me when I say we still have a long way to go, but I'm really proud my organization has come along with me on this journey. And just think of the possibilities if more government agencies had this tool in their toolbox. Thank you.